You're an innocent shop owner, and then you find out that there is a 1 billion yen bounty on your head. What are you gonna do? You're gonna have to hire some very skilled employees, lose a whole lot of weight, and revisit your old assassin life, which you left behind for love, all the while trying to keep the bounty a secret from your cutie wife and daughter. Today I'm gonna break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the League of Assassins in Sakamoto Days. So this dude here has a wonderful, peaceful charade of a life, and it's all about to change forever. His name is Sakamoto Taro, and despite how he looks, he was once the greatest assassin of all time. Well, that was before he found love, and thanks to love, he's now a shop owner selling stuff with his chin that is as large as a seaport. Anyway, when this cute little boy spills ink on a customer in Sakamoto's shop, Sakamoto stops the guy from taking out his anger on the kid. Originally, he had planned to stab the dude in the head, but all thanks to the power of self-control, he decided to send the guy packing, and no one notices this yellow-haired dude sneaking in. His name is Shin, and he's a psychic. No, literally, he can read minds. And he's also Sakamoto's old apprentice. Shin gives Sakamoto a very heartwarming speech about why he has come back to being a hitman, but Sakamoto is convinced that no, his assassin days are behind him. Shin thinks Sakamoto is a shadow of his former self, and that's what he thinks until he tries to smoke in Sakamoto's presence. And in a split second, Sakamoto slices the cigarette into two, giving Shin chills, because he realizes that, fat or not, Sakamoto could still end him in less than a second. Later, Shin heads back to his car, giddy about how awesome Sakamoto still is, but that's when he gets a call from this shady-looking dude called Boss. The boss tells Shin to kill Sakamoto, and if he doesn't, he would be the next person with a target on his back. When he gets home, Shin takes a moment to gather his thoughts and brace himself for the attack. And the next day, he heads down to Sakamoto's shop to carry out his assassination. He puts on his silencer and aims at Sakamoto, and Sakamoto just sitting, licking his candy, and as soon as the gun goes off, Sakamoto shoots out the candy from his mouth and changes the direction of the bullet! Wow! And before Shin can make up his mind for his next move, Sakamoto disappears from the counter and shoots a candy ball at Shin like a gun and knocks him out, like a Kohana Senpu kick that sends Shin flying through the shelves. I love this anime. Now this is crazy. You would think that because he worked with Sakamoto, he would be maybe a little more cautious, a little smarter, and Shin proved him otherwise. Sure, but make no mistake guys, Shin could have assassinated Sakamoto under different circumstances. For instance, if he had gotten Sakamoto to trust him a little more. He is a psychic, his job is already easier than the average assassin, and he was Sakamoto's old partner. And that means, essentially, Sakamoto won't be fully on edge around him. Psychologists call it effective presence. It means that people already is around him, and considering that Sakamoto already knew he was an assassin and didn't even feel bothered when he was inside his shop, and even went on to have a meal with him, you could argue that Sakamoto feels at ease with him, and this all means that Shin had to do was to just wait a little longer, argue for a little bit more time. Shin in this case was a hunter that sprung his trap too early. Wait a few days, get him to become even more comfortable, maybe even help around the shop for a bit. I mean, Shin of all people should have known that he could not beat Sakamoto in a frontal assault. Sure, it's cheap to shoot him from behind, but come on, is there truly any honor among thieves and assassins? No. Shin does have a mission, kill Sakamoto. Who cares how he gets the job done? Take a little bit of time and get it done right. Employ every dirty trick that he can come up with. Whatever that will take his edge off. Maybe get him to drink. Anything to just get him to relax. And although Shin claims to have worked with Sakamoto, he's not clearly that smart. He didn't put a lot of effort into this. You're like trying to kill Koro-sensei without having a plan A, B, C, D, or whatever all the way to Z. Maybe plan a little bit, okay? When Shin opens up his eyes, the family has taken care of his wounds, and they all sit down and share dinner. But when Shin tastes Mrs. Sakamoto's cooking, he knows why the legendary hitman quit the game. Before his resolve to be an assassin can fully wane though, Shin excuses himself because he finally understands why Sakamoto left, and he heads back to the assassin's hideout and tries to negotiate for Sakamoto's life. However, unlike Shin, the assassin's boss truly doesn't care at all. He plans to kill Shin and then kill Sakamoto later. Therefore, Shin decides to take matters into his own hands and kill everyone, including the boss. But what he doesn't realize is that Sakamoto, like a true groundwork specialist, has bugged him, and Sakamoto listens to the entire conversation with Shin's boss. And as soon as things get a little hairy, he presses the secret John Wick button, and a stash of guns of different shapes and sizes, it's glorious, comes out. He picks the gun of his choice, and you know that SHIT is about to get real. Meanwhile, Shin finally shows us why he was once Sakamoto's apprentice. He single-handedly almost takes out every goon in the storehouse. Almost. And in that one moment, he gets caught lacking and one of the guys shoot him in the leg, and all the guns point to his face. And Shin starts to wonder about what heaven might look like, and if that's even where he's gonna go. But he never finds out, because Sakamoto turns up out of the blue and stuns all of the goons until they're unconscious. That's right, the greatest hitman of all time is here. Think like a chubby John Wick. Still awesome, but a little fatter. And he goes on to absolutely flex the crap out of all of these low-level goons, using a freaking chopstick as his only weapon. He takes everyone out and uses a penknife to slash through the boss's gun. Now at that point, with such an overpowering display, you think the battle's over and life should hopefully continue as usual. No, Sakamoto doesn't let anything get past him, because apparently he doesn't let anyone go either. He gives Shin an apron and forces him to work at his store. The next day, Shin is still reeling with joy from Sakamoto's escapades, and he blurts out about how great a killer Sakamoto is after many years in retirement, and that's when he learns just how terrifying smokes Mrs. Sakamoto is, because she dangles the D word. No, not that D word, the divorce word in front of Sakamoto so quick that even the greatest hitman gets just downright terrified. And she reminds him that the #1 rule of their family is no killing. Later, Sakamoto and Shin head down to the market to buy some pork buns for their family, and they have no idea they are about to have the encounter of a lifetime. While heading back, this cute little girl named Lou lands on top of Sakamoto like a little angel dropping from the sky, except she also ruins his family's pork buns. Shin picks him up, but before they can make sense of what is going on, a gang shows up to attack poor Lou. But she's not the average damsel in distress, because this babe knows Tai Chi? She busts out a few moves before she can get caught slacking. And that's when Sakamoto steps in and saves the day with Shin. And as soon as they finish with the first batch of goons, another group shows up. And that's when Sakamoto decides it's better to live to fight another day. So he grabs Lou and runs as fast as his fat legs can carry him. Well, not that far away though, because more trouble is brewing. Because the dude who put a bounty on Lou's head just hired 2 additional killers to get the job done. Sakamoto, Shin, and Lou do some ninja training running on the roof, while Lou explains that she's from the mafia, and the guys after her want the key to her family's safe, but she's not giving it up because her family died protecting it. However, Sakamoto isn't moved by her story, because he's already thinking of making her work for him and make more pork buns for him. However, before he can conclude on recruiting his new chef, he gets kicked from one of the bounty hunters that sends him flying far away. Shin tries to fight back using his mind-reading abilities, but Son-hee and Bacho fight in perfect sync. Their attacks are well-coordinated, relentless, and designed to kill. The hitmen get tired of the chit-chat and decide to attack Lou. But right as the bald one gets close to her, Sakamoto pops up like an annoying ad and flogs Baldy into the ground, and the building shakes. And as they fall through, Sakamoto, he doesn't panic, because he knows that brute strength isn't enough, and he turns the environment to his advantage, and uses the scattered junk as improvised weapons. He grabs a flying pan from a food stand and blocks a knife slash that would have cut anyone else down. And then he swings it like a club, turning kitchenware into combat gear. And the fight spills across the room, and every prop, everything becomes a part of Sakamoto's arsenal. Frying pan, perfect sword, a fridge, wonderful bludgeoning object. He slams it right around on one of the twins, turning a home appliance into a prison. Turns out with Sakamoto, everything can be a weapon if you're creative enough. But the twins aren't just muscle. They're driven by a mission to eliminate Lou. She's their target because she's the last survivor of her clan. She thinks of her revenge against the man who killed her parents. And when Lou finally has the chance to kill the chairman, she hesitates. And that's when she realizes that vengeance won't bring her parents back, because it'll just drag her deeper into the world that killed them. Lou joins the shop, but wakes up very late because she has not worked a day in her life. Shin, as the senpai, decides to scold her for a bit, and when they get into a mini fight, things get a little weird, and Sakamoto talks for the first time. So far, Shin had only understood Sakamoto by listening to his thoughts, but Sakamoto keeps talking and laughing till both Shin and Lou get honestly super creeped out. And that's when things get even weirder, because while they're trying to figure out why Sakamoto has suddenly become very talkative, another Sakamoto casually strolls into the shop, ignores the chatty Sakamoto, and heads to a seat at the counter like nothing's wrong. The talking Sakamoto attacks the other one, and they draw their guns into a stalemate. And the real Sakamoto calls the talking dude Nagumo. And just like a face-swapping jutsu, the guy's face and clothing changes immediately into the scrawny-looking dude. And Shin's face looks like he's seen a ghost, but it gets even weirder when he realizes that he can't read this guy's mind. Oh, that was so close. These kids could have just lost their lives. In their shoes, granted they're in foreign territory here, they're not working at the formerly world's greatest assassin's place of business now, so this is kind of new for them. But even so, they should have been prepared for all circumstances. The fact they even got caught in a trap like this is proof they are not taking this situation as seriously as they should. Think about it. Sakamoto's been away from killing things for about about 5 years. Why did Shin's former boss only deem it fit now to attack him? And of course, that's a very important question. If Shin's boss finally decided to attack Sakamoto, would he be the only assassin targeting Sakamoto after all this time? The answer is probably no. Somebody as skilled as Sakamoto really has gotta have some enemies all over the place. From jealous co-assassins to angry victims waiting for the perfect chance to get back at him for killing their loved ones. So to prevent this from ever happening, I'm gonna start by having a code name or a word, or some sort of hidden signal that I would share only with my workers at the store. Knowing that anyone could come looking for Sakamoto's head at any point, I would make sure that myself and all the employees in the shop are able to communicate with one another without anyone else knowing. And that's where Shin's mess up becomes super apparent. Shin is the communication box of the group. He's the pervy dude always sneaking up into people's brains to figure out what they're thinking. That's not all. For today, he's also the only person that had been in the shop with Sakamoto all day. The fact that he didn't notice that he could not read this guy's thought proves that despite being an assassin, he dropped his guard big time. The minute I noticed I could not read his mind, I would know something's up and I would begin to plan countermeasures. The only reason they came out of this thing unharmed was because the guy here is clearly, at least right now, not on a mission to kill anyone. Otherwise, we'd all be in body bags by now. Nagumo introduces himself as a friend of Sakamoto, but every other thing he says is a lie, which really pisses Shin and Lou off. But then he gets really serious and tells Sakamoto that there is a bounty on his head, a 1 billion yen bounty. And while he's still explaining, this suspicious looking pizza delivery dude walks in. Shin gets a read on his mind and tells everyone that he's an assassin, but Nagumo already handles the pizza killer. And Sakamoto stops him from killing the dude, and Nagumo goes berserk. He tells Sakamoto that even for him, it would be pretty darn difficult to survive the bounty on his head without killing the assassins coming after him. Fair point. Meanwhile, though, nobody knows that the pizza guy had a tiny camera on his delivery box. Weird assassins in a secret room watch Sakamoto and his team on a big screen through a camera. These guys are in for a big surprise, because while they're talking amongst themselves, Sakamoto suddenly faces the hidden camera and sends a warning to them to stay away from him or face the consequences. After that, he agrees with Shin they need to lay low for a while to avoid attracting attention. That works for like 2 seconds because his darling daughter shows up and reminds him they're gonna go to the park for the day, and it's like, great, well, good intentions. Oh well. And Sakamoto can already tell that it's gonna be a difficult day at the theme park. When they get to the park, Aoi, Sakamoto's wife, and his daughter, Hana, are all about the fun, they're having a great time, and they have no idea that everyone else is on the freaking edge trying to snuff out all the possible assassins, and that's when Shin puts his psychic abilities to good use and starts reading everyone's mind within a 30-meter radius to confirm there are no hostiles. And they do then find a few and quickly snuff them out to avoid being spotted by Aoi and Hana. But they have no idea that a pro is watching them from behind the scenes. He plans his move and finally decides to attack. And he gets himself ready and mentally blocks out all killing thoughts. So when he walks by Shin, our Esper doesn't even notice the hostility. That's only the beginning. The family gets on a merry-go-round, but as soon as Lou spots this assassin's weird hair, she profiles him using her years of working in the mafia. And she tells Shin that he's a suspicious dude. And Shin finally agrees with her and does something ballistic. He removes his safety hook on the merry-go-round and attacks the guy. Together they jump off the ride, but this dude has some sort of weird Magneto-level type training. So now Shin can't even read his mind, and he uses his knife to poison Shin and make his vision go blurry. And when he thinks he has won, Shin jumps with him into a stage play where the main character is about to fight off some villains. And quickly Shin dresses in the main character's costume. But that doesn't change the fact he can't see anything. Anyone else would have been a serious pinch. And that's when Sakamoto steps in. He sits safely with his family and uses Shin's telepathy to direct him on how to fight this guy. And our hard killer is surprised because Shin suddenly gets a whole lot better and way more accurate in their battle. And in a matter of seconds, the fight is over. But their troubles are far from over, because now our poison user here is actually not the last assassin. This weird couple watches as Sakamoto and his family deal with the poison dude. With everything set, they decide that it's now time to join the fray. And this time, Sakamoto's family is in real danger. When he thinks they're going to kill him, they tie him up and get the antidote from him and cure Shin. And then Lou does this devilish mafia type of interrogation by poisoning him too. But surprise, he spills all the tea that she needs before she can even get serious. He tells her that the dudes interested in Sakamoto are a company called Kai, and he says he's not loyal to them to the point of risking his own life. The assassin duo Boiru and Obiguro accost the spiky-haired assassin dude as soon as he tries to get away, and despite their laid-back look, these two are the most brutal pair of assassins the Kai ever recruited, and now they're coming after Sakamoto and his family. Meanwhile, Sakamoto and his family enjoy the rest of their fun day at the park. For the most part, Aoi's-san chooses open spaces for their fun games, and you think that somehow she knows that her husband is being hunted, but nope. And just when Shin and Lou begin to count their lucky stars, Aoi-san chooses their final destination, a haunted house. Of course. Great plan. Not. Yeah, the prime and perfect spot for any form of assassination. And immediately, Shin and Lou see their chances of survival drop from 89% down to 12. As soon as they go in, Lou takes a special medicine passed down in her family to help calm some nerves. But what they don't know is that Boiru-san has installed cameras inside the haunted house and is already watching their every move and is preparing to make his. And that's when an assassin attacks them. But Sakamoto pretends to be scared and just beats the shit out of him so bad, the guy just stops moving. Boiru and Obiguro watch them. And that's when Boiru goes down memory lane to when he thought Sakamoto was his best friend. Turns out when they were in Assassin Academy at the same time, unfortunately, in his own laid-back way, Sakamoto ignored Boiru, and now our hitman is here to settle the score. Shin finally asks Lou what the secret special medicine is that she's been drinking. She gives some for him to see for himself. Yeah, turns out it was just booze. While walking, they find this strange-looking door, because Lou is already very tipsy, and she walks straight to the door and yanks it open. That turns out to be her very obvious first mistake, because a bunch of fake zombies mixed with real assassins pour out of the room and divide the group. Sakamoto is the first to get attacked by Boiru-san, and the first hit sends Sakamoto into a different corridor, far away from his family. Shin finds Aoi and Hana, and although they look fine, they're on the floor, unconscious. And he turns around just in time to find Obiguro and her goons ready to attack him. However, before our boy can get a chance to show off his expert skills, Lou jumps into the mix from out of nowhere and cuts Obiguro's mouth with a lightning-fast kick. Keep in mind, she's already super drunk, and she's now about to show Rock Lee the real 3 stages of drunken fist. Okay, this is going way too fast for my liking. 1. Aoi and Hana just got kidnapped. Sounds like you guys just became super overly confident of your chances of success. This game of protecting them could be likened to a chess match. In chess, all the pieces on the board, irrespective of how strong or weak they are, serve only one purpose: protect the king. If for any reason the king gets captured, then the game is over. It doesn't matter if you have 5 queens or 10 knights. Now let's bring this game of chess to their little hide-and-seek game. Aoi and Hana are people being protected, so you can call them the king, while Sakamoto, Shin, and Lou are the players in charge with protecting them. We can call them the queen, the knight, and the castle. But if you do this, it means that it's already game over, because as soon as you lose the king, you lose the right to stand on the chessboard. Think about it. If Boiru and Obiguro were not killers with a kind heart, they would have started their game of execution by just killing them, not just knocking them out. Clearly, they want something else. That's why if I'm in their shoes, I'm going to start by saying no freaking no to the haunted house, because this all started when Sakamoto and Co agreed to go into the freaking haunted house with Hana and Aoi. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't go. They could have made a few up. They could have lied. Sakamoto could have feigned a headache or claimed that his stomach was suddenly purging, or even say he got a call for special deliveries needed far away from the park. Anything to end the day and not go into the haunted house. They let their emotions get the better of them and now walked into the house, knowing it was already very likely a place laid with thousands of traps, all set to just get them. Also, after entering the house, what is Lou thinking? They would not be in this mess if she had just not opened the door, and Lou would not have felt so freaking tempted to open the door if she had not been drinking so much. So I would start by taking away Lou's booze, even if the door still opens on its own. Keep the eyes on the prize. As soon as these zombies very likely start pouring out anyways, I'm gonna get everybody into a defensive position around Aoi and Hana. Then we're gonna use our skills and fight them off as best as we can, while ideally still making Aoi and Hana feel like we're really just super into the whole haunted party thing. Sakamoto and Boiru start their battle, and Boiru proves that Sakamoto really has been out of practice. He keeps hitting him hard with his special candy-like bombs. But, you know, even if he is out of shape, one thing about Sakamoto is that he always keeps getting back up. Shin and Lou don't have much luck either, and Obiguro says killing them doesn't seem all that exciting. So she raises the stakes by playing a game of tag with Lou. The prize, Shin's body. If Lou doesn't win, Shin's body gets dissected. After hearing this, Shin says his last prayer because what else can a drunk Lou do? Meanwhile, Sakamoto finally remembers who Boiru is, and then he decides to finally get serious. As soon as Boiru turns around to walk away, he feels 6 swords stabbing him in the back. And for the first time since this whole long night began, he feels Sakamoto's bloodlust. The stone cold killer is back. And get this, he didn't just come back to give Boiru an ass whooping. He came back now looking like he did 5 years ago. Shin is impressed by how capable the drunk Lou is, because she has managed to stay ahead of Obiguro and her twisted game, without even really taking it fully seriously. And things get even more intense, because Lou gets angry and suddenly sobers up when she tries to land a critical hit on Obiguro. And Shin realizes his life is over, because just when he's about to say his prayers, Obiguro suddenly hugs Lou. She thinks Lou isn't really taking her seriously because Lou is much stronger than she is. And somehow they become friends and Shin gets to live and see another day. In the corridor, Sakamoto unleashes his fury on Boiru and he sends Boiru flying through bricks with one punch. And when he tries to use his special punching gloves made of iron and fire, Sakamoto Sakamoto breaks him with one punch, and Boru takes the beating of his life, all the while wondering how Sakamoto can be so strong after quitting for 5 years. And he gets his tushy absolutely pummeled, and he finally admits that Sakamoto truly is the greatest and the most dangerous assassin ever. When Aoi-san wakes up, Shin gives her the slip by claiming that he's going to look for Sakamoto, which turns out to be a big mistake because he has no idea that Boru and Sakamoto are discussing the one topic that Aoi-san can't hear about, the bounty. And just when Boru asks Sakamoto what he's going to do about the bounty, Aoi shows up and intercepts the conversation. And then everybody gets their fair share of scolding before Aoi gives Sakamoto permission to do something about the bounty for good. By the next day, Sakamoto somehow has regained all the weight that he had lost because he ate without considering his calorie deficit. And the trio head out to do some research in the super cool movie shop, which is really an undercover secret store for assassins to get information. And then they find a movie on the Dondenkai. And although it costs 1,000,000 yen, Sakamoto pays and they watch the movie. And with all the info they have, they decide to storm the yard and take care of business for good. But by the time they successfully break in and get close to the top floor, they find all the members of the Dondenkai dead, with Nagumo sitting amidst all of them looking really cool. But it turns out he didn't kill them. He found them dead, and he gives Sakamoto some really important info about a new badass that the Japanese Assassins Association is hunting. Some dude called Slur or X, because he's been killing JAA members. He also tells Sakamoto that the Order has been called to look into the matter, and just in case you're wondering who the Order is, they're the best of elite assassins within the JAA. And as you expect, before he quit, Sakamoto was one of the members. And before he leaves, Nagumo tells Sakamoto that he's more out of shape than he realizes, because he should have really taken care of Boru in one hit. So Sakamoto does the next best thing that he can do. Cue training arc! The next day, we meet Heisuke, a sniper so freaking broke, he's sharing his meager meals with his pet. Living on a rooftop tent, Heisuke dreams of affording sushi someday. His plan? Take out Taro Sakamoto and claim the 1,000,000,000 yen bounty. Meanwhile, Lou complains about the repeated attacks on Sakamoto's shop because assassins are desperate for the money. But Shin says they'll be able to repair the shop properly once they win a paintball competition. And that's when Heisuke shows up in the shop to carry out his genius plan of killing Sakamoto. This is gonna be good. Heisuke, though, has only an old photo of a slim Sakamoto. So when he walks into the store, he doesn't recognize the hefty, chubby retired assassin, who plays along and denies knowing any Taro Sakamoto. Shin and Lou, sensing Heisuke's naivete, offer him free meat buns, and he leaves, none the wiser. Back on the rooftop, a sudden windstorm destroys Heisuke's tent. Now he's desperate and hungry, and he stumbles upon a flyer for a paintball tournament. And seeing this as a chance to earn some money, he decides to participate. Because if hunting Sakamoto isn't gonna work, joining a fun sport for sure will, and he'll probably win. At the tournament, Sakamoto and Shin also enter, aiming to win the prize to repair their store. Lou, not a fan of violent games, is like, I'll just cheer on the sidelines, woo! But that's when Heisuke finds out that he can't enter the tournament on his own, and he begs Sakamoto and Shin to let him join. Unbeknownst to Heisuke, he's now competing alongside the very person he's supposed to kill. So funny. And the best part is, as soon as Sakamoto sees him, he gets the feeling that Heisuke would slow them down and would make them miss out on their target money. But in a bizarre twist of fate during the match, Heisuke's sniper prowess shines like a sun. Everybody's looking fine till Lou opens her mouth. Seriously, somebody needs to shut her up. She calls Sakamoto by his full name, and even Heisuke is not that dumb. So he switches up on them mid-game and decides to snipe out Sakamoto instead. And his bird drops his real sniper rifle, and he uses it to show how much of a badass shooter he is. And he even manages to shoot a bullet right behind Sakamoto and Shin's head, showcasing his precision. After running for a bit, Sakamoto decides to go on the offensive because he realizes that if he continues, it's only a matter of time before Heisuke drops him dead. So when Shin pinpoints his location, Sakamoto, ever the strategist, counters by shattering Heisuke's rifle from a distance using a freaking pebble! A freaking pebble! But he was impressed by Heisuke's skills, and perhaps feeling a little bit sympathetic, Sakamoto tells him that he's never met a sniper more skilled than him, which does make him feel better before they give him his share of the prize money, which is only 50 yen. Because turns out he used the rest of his quota to pay the damages that he caused by shooting a real gun in a paintball arena. Okay, so we're all probably thinking the same thing. It's great they survived the battle, but who else noticed they shouldn't have been in the battle in the first place? They could have avoided the entire thing if Lou just kept her mouth shut. Especially when Lou drinks. Sakamoto and Shin should have done more to stop her from drinking. I mean, sure, we don't really blame Sakamoto because he didn't witness her drunken fist. Shin was there, and he was also present when Heisuke first strolled into the shop looking for Sakamoto. Sure, Heisuke is a bit of a dunce in his own right, but Shin should have expected him to be around, making extra preparations to stop things from going south. Like maybe telling Lou she's banned from drinking all day, or even seizing the alcohol as soon as he sees it. Yeah, sure, it's still a lot of effort, but nothing really stopped both Shin and Sakamoto from interrupting Lou's conversation halfway through. The They could have jumped in and shut her mouth up for a good minute before she finished spilling all the good tea. Sure, Sakamoto, he's got his own share of the blame. He let Heisuke do as he pleased for far too long. They could have hurt one of the random bystanders if Heisuke wasn't such a freaking badass with his rifle. And there's a chance that a man like Sakamoto, with a newfound love for life and all living things, should not allow the risk of others getting hurt because of his own private mess. If we were in his shoes, we should use the environment to our advantage a little better. Like maybe start by raising up a lot of dust so he can't see clearly. Then grab a pebble like he did before, just a bit earlier, and destroy the gun. Better yet, attack the little bird. Yeah, the freaking little bird, because it's the bird that is Heisuke's eye in the sky. He's like a mini camera that Heisuke uses to ascertain the location of his target. So if you get the dang bird called Pisuke, you've essentially blinded him. And given Sakamoto's experience and instinct, that should have been one of the first things he's figured out. Just a light graze enough to scare the bird should be enough to make it consider its choice of assisting Heisuke in battle. And then we see what happens when the boss is away. You find out the kids are just gonna play, or in this case argue. When Sakamoto and Aoi-san head to Hana's school for Parents' Day, Lou and Shin are left to manage the store, and their usual banter escalates really quickly when Lou accuses him of being a mind-reading pervert, making it clear she can't relax around someone who might be peeking into her thoughts. Shin, visibly hurt, leaves the shop, leaving Lou to reflect on her harsh words. Anyway, while Shin is away, Lou's feeling bad for what she said to him, so she gets ready to apologize when he gets back. But that never happens, because Lou is kidnapped. By the time Shin gets back, their target was Shin, but due to Lou wearing his apron with his name tag on, they mistook her for him. And one of the kidnappers is named Seiba, and points out the person they've taken is not Shin, but the leader of the operation is too desperate to turn back, so he decides they're going to trick their benefactor and deliver Lou to him as Shin. As soon as Shin gets back, he knows something is wrong, because despite how freaking annoying Lou is, she doesn't intentionally slack off on her duties. When he sees pieces of glass on the floor, he knows something went really wrong. And that's when Sakamoto and Aoi-san return from Hana's school. And as soon as Sakamoto gets the feel of what's going on, he goes into rescue mode real quick. And Sakamoto and Shin leave on a high-speed chase to rescue her. And when they start getting close to the vehicle, Seiba strolls out casually to greet Shin on top of the vehicle. But that's when he does something really crazy. Because so far, we've only met Shin as a person with powers in this world. But this dude, he goes invisible in seconds and gives Shin a proper beatdown. And then he tries to mess with Sakamoto, like, come on, it's Sakamoto. RG's instincts are too dang good, and instead he destroys Sakamoto's bike by puncturing a hole in it. After slowing them down, he gets back on the bus and takes Lou to their secret hideout. And although they lose track of them, Shin knows where they're taking Lou, because it was the lab where he grew up, and he leads Sakamoto to a science museum, which serves as a front for the lab where Shin was raised and gained his psychic abilities. And inside the museum, Shin tries to get them in the normal way, but then he triggers the intruder alarm, and frankly, this should have been the warning that he needed to get the F out. But instead, Sakamoto deals with the security until they come face to face with a robotic dinosaur. And when it starts moving, Sakamoto immediately gives Shin instructions not to destroy any part of it, because he's thinking, this is a freaking awesome toy for his little baby girl. Frick you. He quickly finds out that it's really difficult to beat it without destroying it. And Sakamoto makes the right choice, and in 2 hits, he takes down the mechanical beast with his signature blend of strength and strategy. After disabling security, Shin and Sakamoto head down to the lab, where our boy reunites with his old friends, the nerd guys. But the reunion is cut short because they tell Shin that the lab has been overtaken by assassins. And before they can give any more info, a lackey of the assassin shows up, named Horiguchi, a scientist with a penchant for syringes and mind-altering concoctions. He injects Shin with the serum that scrambles his speech, leading to a very funny yet challenging battle. Meanwhile, Lou is kept in a cell with Shin's real mentor, Asakura, the true owner of the lab. Before Lou can reduce her aura any further, by trying to break iron with a stone, he decides to recruit her on his escape mission. And then we see 2 members of the order, Shishishiba and Osarage, arrive at the museum, setting the stage for future confrontations. And their presence signals that Sakamoto's past is catching up with him, and the stakes are about to get even higher. Back home, Heisuke heads down to the shop to chill with his new buddies, but then he meets only Hana, and she is sad. Turns out you take your parents to school day did not go as planned. To cheer her up, Heisuke promises to find everyone and bring them back all by himself. And he sends his bird into the air and the search begins. Lou gets into it with Asakura because she thinks he's responsible for her problem, but he points out that he wouldn't be stuck in a cell with her if he was really responsible, and that she finally asks him about Shin's story. Back at the lab, Sakamoto and Shin face off against Horiguchi, and he uses a syringe on Sakamoto that makes our hitman attack Shin. But once he figures out that his attacks are in reverse, he punches harder at Shin and ends up sending the scientist flying. A scientist who uses syringes to manipulate his opponents. Meanwhile, Lou learns that Shin wasn't born with his psychic powers. He got them, like Luffy. He, in this case, found a bottle with liquid and drank it thinking it was water. Thanks to the accident, he got the power to read minds, but it made everyone else ostracize him because he had a loud mouth and was always snitching on everyone's thoughts, and he ended up running away. After story time is finally over, him and Lou and this nameless dude break out of prison, but Sakamoto and Shin are having a hard time against their opponent, and it turns out the dude can switch the abilities of his targets, so he keeps on altering what command he gives their mind, and this makes it hard for our boy to fight against him. But Sakamoto is not the greatest hitman for nothing, and he comes up with a super efficient solution. He tells Shin to stand in harm's way, just like when they fought the spiky-haired dude. He throws his attack at Shin while telling Shin how to dodge at the same time, and Mr. Mad Scientist gets a proper beatdown. Okay, sure, this was cool, but wouldn't it have been great if they could have come out of this with little injuries? Because at any point in time, Shin could have really gotten hurt, and whether you like it or not, I do blame Sakamoto. In his shoes, my first point of call would have been to not get tagged. The main problem Sakamoto and Shin have in this lab is that they decided to deal with everything as it comes because of the nature of their job, and one slight mistake can end everything. Sakamoto's team needs a plan. Yeah, like an actual plan. They're going into a place where Shin gained his psychic ability, and on the way to the lab, they encountered a boy who goes invisible, bears that shoot bullets from their mouth, and a moving set of dinosaur bones. Maybe a little bit of planning would go a long way, because in all his years in the field, there's no way Sakamoto thought they would kidnap Shin or Lou, use booby traps to slow them down, or even try to kill them without there being something worse to face inside the lab. The only reason why they go in guns blazing and fists swinging instead of their brains is because they feel that whatever is inside there, Sakamoto, the real muscle of the group, has the ability to face off with it. And I mean, we gotta take a moment to appreciate Shin's level of concentration, because it's gotta be tough. You are actively dodging hits from the greatest killer, even if he were pulling his punches and telling you where to move. So yeah, maybe next time you get your employee kidnapped and you're thinking of a rescue operation, maybe take a moment to actually plan something. Sakamoto messed up big time. He's taking too many risks, because if he had gotten serious from the get-go, the mad scientist would never even have the chance to stab Shin in the neck. And the problem is that Sakamoto likes to let the problem become a real serious one before he swoops in. I get it, he's really good, but that is crazy ego talking. Because what if one time your super skills don't work and now your friend dies? Because while you're busy having fun, maybe someone might seriously get hurt. After defeating Horiguchi, the duo descends deeper into the lab, and suddenly the ground opens up, and Sakamoto uses his quick reflexes to kick Shin out of harm's way before falling into a trap set by Kashima, a cyborg with a reindeer mask and a body full of weapons. Kashima runs into Shishishiba and Osaragi from the JAA order, and in a split second, Osaragi kills Kashishima's two lackeys, and Kashima gets serious and even cuts Shishiba. But before Kashima can blink, Shishiba twists his head and the villain drops dead. Shishiba and Osaragi turn around to leave the lab disappointed, because Slur, their main reason for visiting, is not in town. But before they leave, Kashima gets back up, because being a cyborg, he won't die even if his head gets turned around 180 degrees. And just when Shishiba is about to take him a little more seriously, Sakamoto drops through a hole in the ceiling. Kashima reveals that Sakamoto is the only one who has ever wounded Slur, the enigmatic leader of the assassins. And as you expect, Sakamoto has no idea who Slur is. Shin tries to find Lou to complete his rescue mission, but he gets sidetracked by Seiba, the invisible dude. And while he dukes it out with Seiba, Shishiba and Osaragi leave Sakamoto to clean up their mess. But things get really bad for Shin because Seiba stabs him in the stomach, and before falling, he uses his blood to leave a stain on Seiba's invisible armor suit. Seiba thinks it's gross, but that's not the real problem, because Heisuke has arrived. Before Seiba knows what's going on, there are 2 bullets in his body, and now he's on the floor, bleeding. Shin and Heisuke continue the battle against Seiba, and when Seiba gets injured from another of Heisuke's shots, he changes his manner of attack, and this time he makes a piece of metal invisible and throws it at the unsuspecting Heisuke, and injures the sniper. And that's when he reveals that he doesn't have any power to go invisible. He's only wearing an invisible cloak. He then stabs Heisuke, but before a grade 1 sniper goes down, he shoots a final shot at Seiba. The shot misses and instead hits the waterline. With his suit wet, Shin can see him clear as day, and he ends the battle in 1 hit. Meanwhile, Sakamoto's fight with Kashima gets even more serious after he learns that the entire lab has been rigged to explode in 20 minutes. The fight escalates across multiple train cars, with Sakamoto utilizing every object, pencil lead, sales stickers, everything. And at one point, Sakamoto even sheds his weight, becoming slim to gain the upper hand. And things get even better because Kashima can't really die. Sakamoto decides not to hold back against him anymore, and he gives the guy a proper thrashing around the moving train and puts the fear of God in him. And Kashima is so beaten that he starts wondering why Sakamoto is so strong despite being only human. As the lab crumbles, Shin gets to Lou in time to save her from falling debris, and she apologizes for being mean, and they share an awkward moment, and Shin uses his abilities to track the remaining people in the building and sends Lou and Heisuke after them. But he has no idea that by heading in a different direction, he's about to have the worst encounter of his life. Meanwhile, Osaragi and Shishiba spend some time down in the A-Lab's computer room, going through the footage available. Shishiba finally spots Slur, but the guy is careful enough not to look directly into the camera. As Shin keeps on running, he stumbles upon Slur, and the encounter is chilling. Slur's mere presence paralyzes Shin, and Slur spares Shin and tells him to deliver a message to Sakamoto. Finally, everyone manages to get out of the lab in one piece, and they have their emotional reunion with Shin before sending him on his merry little way. After the intense battles at the lab, Team Sakamoto seeks relaxation at a local bathhouse. Sakamoto uses the opportunity to teach Shin that rest is part of the tools of a master hitman. Despite their respite being short, the bathhouse owner, an amateur assassin, recognizes Sakamoto and sees an opportunity to claim the bounty on his head. He rigs the bathhouse with traps, turning a place of relaxation into a battlefield, from explosive jet baths to freezing cold pools. The assassin attempts are relentless, yet Sakamoto remains unfazed, enjoying the facilities while Shin bears the brunt of the traps. Despite his efforts, the assassin fails to harm Sakamoto. After the refreshing bath, Sakamoto plays ping pong with Lou and she's surprisingly good at it, but while playing, some ruffians show up at the bathhouse and manhandle the amateur assassin. Sakamoto watches, for a bit, but when he has had enough of the bully, he does what all great assassin mentors do. He uses his ping pong ball as a bullet and knocks someone out, and then he uses a rubber stick like a nail and pins the other dude to the vending machine. And the amateur assassin is so inspired by how cool Sakamoto is that he decides to quit being an assassin and become a full-time manager of the bathhouse. The next day, the team enjoys a peaceful lunch, which is interrupted by the arrival of Lou Wu-Tang, a high-ranking official from Lou's former mafia family. He insists that Lou return to lead the family, citing the power vacuum left by her parents. As you expect, our girl Lou firmly says no and says she's fine with her life at Sakamoto's store. But Wu-Tang is not one to give up easily, so he proposes a non-violent solution: a gambling competition at an underground casino. Each party receives 30 million yen, and whoever amasses the most within 2 hours wins. If Sakamoto's team wins, Wu-Tang promises to reveal the identity of the person who placed the bounty on Sakamoto. Lou agrees to the challenge, setting the stage for a high-stakes battle of wits and luck. But there's one problem: both Sakamoto and Shin have never gambled at all in their lives. As you expect, assassins are supposed to be able to break out of tough spots, right? And Shin goes first and uses his psychic abilities to read everyone's mind. So even if he doesn't know the rules of the game, he still ends up winning. And as for Sakamoto, nothing works as well as some good old brute force. He uses his physical prowess to undo the cheating going on in the game he's playing, and somehow he manages to win too. However, Wu-Tang proves to be a formidable opponent, using his intelligence and strategic thinking to stay ahead. In the final game, a card game, where they have to pick out the Joker card, becomes a mental battle, with Wu-Tang overwhelming Shin by mentally reciting complex equations, rendering Shin's mind-reading abilities ineffective. But after Shin drops out, Sakamoto holds the fort by using his speed to find the right card time and time again. However, tensions rise and Wu-Tang's men betray him, viewing him as weak and unfit to lead, mostly because, unlike the rest of the mafia, Wu-Tang uses his brain to get things done. He tells the mafia goons that he saw their betrayal coming, so he gave them all fake guns. This gives Sakamoto and the rest of his workers the time they need to clean out the trash, and when they're done, Wu-Tang reveals that he was only bluffing, because the guns in fact are quite real. Next time, the mafia goons will think twice about looking down on someone with a good brain. As you expect, Wu-Tang joins Sakamoto's crew and reveals that Slur was the mastermind behind Sakamoto's bounty, and Wu-Tang warns the team about a new danger: 4 dangerous criminals who have escaped from a South African prison, allegedly with Slur's assistance. These individuals are now in Japan, posing a significant threat to Sakamoto and his allies. But even after hearing about these dangerous monsters on the loose, Sakamoto and his team decide that they would hunt down the monsters to get information on Slur, and they all look so calm that even Wu-Tang is impressed.